Welcome to the PEMcast, the official podcast of the Peabody Essex Museum. My name is Chip Van Dyke. I'm the media production manager here at the museum, and with me is
Dinah Carden, special projects writer and press officer at the Peabody Essex Museum.
Dinah. What are we listening to right now?
This is Anthony Roth Costanzo. He is a rising star in the opera world who comes to us from the Met. He's a countertenor. He will be coming to the Peabody Essex Museum this June. We're so excited to have this countertenor come perform for us.
I found out what a countertenor is because I don't really know much about the opera world, but a countertenor is a classification of a male vocalist. It's also known as an alto, and if you think of musical instruments, and particularly like saxophones, you've got like an alto saxophone, a tenor saxophone. The alto's the higher, the tenor's the lower, and then there's the bass. So if he were a woman, he might be classified as a contralto or a soprano, but our friend Anthony Roth Costanzo is in fact a countertenor.
We are so excited to have him here because we're excited right now at the museum about music. Our composer in residence, Matt Aucoin, has been here 2 other times, and now he's coming back for his 3rd concert, all about the myth of Orpheus.
Right.
On June 6th and 7th, and he'll be bringing Anthony with him as Orpheus.
Matt Aucoin did a great piece on our blog sort of describing what he's going to do. It's really fascinating stuff. He'll be conducting a piece by Christoph Willibald Gluck, an opera entitled Orfeo and Eurydice. And he will also be performing his own piece, The Orphic Moment. And that I had to look into that because I'm not as familiar, even though I remember Orpheus from high school and, learning about Orpheus. I was really vague on the specifics of what the Orphic moment might mean. And so
it's our Orphic moment here, Chip. We've all been, looking at those paintings, watching all these films. It is the Orphic moment right now at PEM.
Well, right. We had a painting in our Golden show called Orpheus Charming the Animals. You might have seen it in that show. And essentially, Orpheus is the father of songs. He's known as the father of songs. He was a musician, a poet, a prophet of ancient Greek religion and myth. He was born of a king and a muse. He was this virtuoso, and he was an inspiration to musicians. What was that thing that Acoin included in his blog post? Something about
he said it was
bedtime stories.
Yeah, he said that the Orpheus story is the #1 favorite bedtime story of all musicians. And he had a really interesting thing to say about Orpheus's, as you like to say, Chip, the one thing that he was asked to do and couldn't get right. What is that story?
Yeah, so, all right, Orpheus was married to Eurydice. You don't need to know who she is, but you do need to know that Eurydice is Orpheus's wife, and she dies, and she goes down to the underworld, and Orpheus, of course, is distraught by this, and he's, of course, working out his anger and sadness through his music. And he decides to go down to the underworld and get her back, and so he goes to the underworld and actually succeeds in making Hades, the god of the underworld, cry, and gets him to agree to release Eurydice back to the world of the living.
Because Orpheus can charm anyone with his beautiful music. He charmed animals. I read somewhere, it might have been Wikipedia, he can charm a stone.
Yes. So he charms the stone-hearted Hades, and Hades gives him back his wife on one condition, and that is that he's not allowed to look back on the way back to the world of the living.
It sounds easy, doesn't it?
It sounds like a very simple project, a very simple request. And what does Orpheus do?
He looks back.
The one thing he was asked to do. So
she's so beautiful. I mean, he just can't. He's missed her. She's been in the underworld. He just wants to make sure she's okay.
I mean, I think maybe like anyone else, when I read this, I was aghast. I mean, like this sets up Orpheus as probably one of the stupidest characters in Greek myth. He came down to the underworld with the specific purpose of bringing his wife back with him. And he just fails miserably at doing this, and in the worst kind of way, in the worst kind of the worst kind of way. So, what Matt Aucoin proposes here, he poses the question in his blog post that, maybe it wasn't a goof. Maybe it wasn't a slip up. Maybe he intentionally wanted to not have Eurydice back, which is sort of an interesting thing. There are a lot of interpretations. There are a lot of different versions of the Orpheus Tale. And in this one in particular, we see him not succeed in bringing Eurydice back. Sometimes Eurydice does return back to the world of the living with him.
The reason he doesn't want her back, according to Matt, right, is so that he can continue to make this beautiful weeping music for the rest of eternity as he's weeping for his lost wife. So essentially, he's just a selfish artist.
Right. And I think Acoin maybe proposes that maybe if Eurydice came back with him, that maybe he wouldn't be the musician that is celebrated today. And so that's sort of an inspiration for the piece that we'll be hearing in June.
And so as we've been exploring all these things, we've been looking at these funky films made in the 60s. In this instance, Orpheus is Orphy, the cool poet on the left bank in Paris. And tell us what you were watching, I think, last night on this.
So it's part of Jean Cocteau's Orphic Trilogy. It's a 3-part series. The first is The Blood of the Poet, I think, and then there's Orpheus, and then there's The Testament of Orpheus. And they're just these really strange interpretations of the tale of Orpheus. At one point, Jean Cocteau even includes himself in the film. He's speared by, in the third film, he's speared by this Minotaur centurion. And I showed that to Dinah the other day. She loved that.
That was really disgusting and gross. Pretty amazing, simple special effects.
But Dinah, I think you might have a more delicate constitution than most about this kind of stuff. It was
Admittedly.
It was very good special effects for the time. And there's this great lightning bolt strike and crash of cymbals when the spear actually plunges through his chest, like out from his back through his chest. So it was kind of amazing, probably, for the time. It was made that one was made in 1960. The Orpheus, the second film, was made in 1950, I believe. And actually, The Testament of Orpheus, there's an interesting story to that. The third film, Pablo Picasso makes a cameo in this film, and it's shot in one of the most strange places. I think they use it as sort of a setting for Hades of the underworld, I believe. But the place itself is a little, very large cavernous limestone caverns outside of Le Beau in France, which is very close to Aix-en-Provence. And I actually had a chance to visit these caves, not knowing anything about the Testament of Orpheus. And there's an installation there called Carrière de Lumière. I'm going to play you a clip now from my experience there because I brought a microphone with me. Corbett, can you cue that track up for us?
How many years ago were you there, Chip?
It was maybe 2 years ago. So what you're listening to, this terrible recording that you're listening to, is of actually I'm walking around in these massive caverns, and they've installed something like 70 projectors and all these speakers into these limestone caves that were essentially carved out by miners looking for bauxite. Oh, and you can see pictures of my experience there on the blog. We'll post some pictures so you guys can actually see these caverns. But I also encourage you to head over to Carrière de Lumière, the website for this place, and check it out too. It's an amazing place. The time I was there, they were projecting Gauguin and Van Gogh. And so they were showing back and forth the paintings of Gauguin and Van Gogh.
Through projections.
Yep, and it was an exploration of color. It was very beautiful, and all the music was playing throughout the cavern. So it was a sort of interesting way to look at art. So this is playing in the majority of the space where the Testament of Orpheus was filmed, and then around the corner, sort of in a separate part of the caverns, they're actually playing the film, the Jean Cocteau's film, The Testament of Orpheus. So it was a very surreal experience to sit down and watch this film projected onto the cavern walls. So I think it's the first time I've ever watched a film in the setting of where the film was shot. It was very surreal, especially with this kind of space.
And if we went there right now, the Orpheus film would be playing?
I think they just let that play out all the time.
Wow. This brings us to a topic that we've been talking quite a bit about lately, and that is music and sound in specific places. back to Matt Aucoin, his two other concerts were held in the atrium here at the museum, but this one is actually going to be in East India Marine Hall.
Yeah, let's listen to. I brought some clips with me of the previous Acoin pieces just to sort of give us a sense of what he's already done for us here so far. He's performed twice already. The first piece we're going to listen to is his first performance here at the museum in the atrium, called Tracing a Line.
You know, it was so exciting. I went to a lot of these rehearsals, and he brings these young musicians and singers from all over, and the energy was just incredible.
Yeah, this was done in the round. Maybe you can't really call it the round if it's a concert, but they were playing centrally located in the atrium, and the seating radiated out from the center of the room, and so they were all over the place with, musicians on the balconies, and this wonderful sort of morphing and changing group of musicians in the center area. It was very interesting, and there was a lot of good programming sort of text to go along with this, so you could sort of get into the headspace of what Acoin is really working with here. And that's a point I want to make about Matt Aucoin, is that when he comes here, he's really exploring an idea thoroughly. He's not just bringing Mozart to the atrium. He's exploring an idea and a theme, and really pushing the limits of experimentation. And I think you'll be able to really tell that from the second piece that we have of his, which is from his second performance here at the museum, called Words and Music.
What's great about this was so avant-garde. It gets really cool when it starts in with the German spoken word. Matt Aucoin is a 2012 graduate of Harvard, so this guy is young, and he works with young rising stars.
So the thing I got from this, and this is all very, very experimental stuff. The thing I kind of got from this was that he was very much exploring the relationship. Well, obviously the title of the piece is called Words and Music, so he's really exploring that relationship between the two. And you can almost hear the sentence structure in what he's working on right here. This is only one section of a 90-minute piece. Then it explores various things. He goes into Mozart at the end of it. There's spoken word poetry and projection and paintings, words on the wall, and so you can tell that, like, every time Matt Aucoin comes here, he's going to be doing something unexpected. And with this third piece in the East India Marine Hall this time, we're really curious about how Orpheus and opera and these things sort of blend together for Matt.
And the great thing, it's going to be set in this beautiful room with some of our oldest pieces from our collection, and with the figureheads from the ships looking down on us.
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've had music playing in East India Marine Hall. We've had a lot of great concerts here, a lot of great lectures. But the piece that comes to mind for me is one of our Freeport series, Freeport number 3, with Susan Phillips, called If I With You Would Go. Oddly enough, it was, she chose a story that had multiple interpretations, much like Orpheus has.
Another myth, yeah.
And it's called The Ship Carpenter's, or The House Carpenter's Wife. And so she chose, of the many different varieties of, the many different versions of this tale, she chose 8 of them to record herself singing each of these pieces, and then playing out in sort of a Greek chorus into the East India Marine Hall itself. And I think I grabbed one piece in particular just so you could get a sense of what at least one of those tracks sounds like. It's not recorded in East India Marine Hall. This is actually just the recording itself.
He's given her a pair of shoes to hold her from the cold, the one side of the velvet and the other beaten gold. Up she has ta'en her little wee son, and give him kisses 3. Says, fare ye well, my little wee son, I'm gone to sail the sea.
So Susan's a Turner Prize winner, this lovely Scottish lady.
Yeah, I don't think she would ever claim to be a fantastic singer. You know, she purposefully chose her own voice. She uses her voice in a lot of her work. And it's to me, it sort of sounds like a woman maybe strolling along the ocean singing to herself. She's not a professional singer, you know, in a studio. She's a woman with a song in her heart, and she's just, you know, walking along and singing this tune. And so it's got some imperfection in it because, you know, Susan is not a singer like our friend
Anthony
Roth Costanzo, but you know she definitely she pulls this whole piece together, and it was a wonderful piece that sort of had this great atmosphere in the space.
And of course, that space being a maritime themed kind of space, and this is the myth of a woman following this gorgeous, handsome devil out to his ship on the ocean, and he turns out indeed to be the devil. Man, it's tough.
Yeah, so many connections. So many connections back to Orpheus, I think. So since we're talking about music today, I thought I'd bring a few clips with me to share. And Dinah, I'm going to play one for you now, and maybe you can guess where it was recorded. Could you even tell me what the instrument is?
No, I cannot, but I can guess that perhaps this was recorded in our Chinese house.
Oh, very good. This is Shan Bing, recorded live in the Chinese house, Yin Yu Tong, at Lunar New Year, I believe it was 2009. And he is playing the Sheng, spelled S-H-E-N-G.
And the Chinese house, of course, here at PEM is the house that was brought over from China and reconstructed here. That is magnificent.
By the way, we have a Sheng in our collection, so I'm not sure if it's on view right now, but it has been on view in the past. It's sort of looks like a miniature organ, like a church organ in a pipe.
So we leave you now with a local artist from Salem, Forrest James, who worked for many years here at PEM and will now be performing at our monthly party series. This one is called
Freewheeling.
Bike Night. Bike Night is actually free to everyone, and it's on Thursday, May 15th. It's BYOB, bring your own bike. And we've got plenty of bike racks outside the museum, and we've got all kinds of groups coming. Bikes Not Bombs coming from Jamaica Plain. We've got Skull, a bike chopper gang based out of Somerville, bringing their sculpted cycle masterpieces. The Salem Bike Path Committee will be helping us make an interactive bike map for Salem, and we've got local bike shops doing workshops and demonstrating how to fix a flat.
And of course, Forrest James will be performing there. And right now we're going to listen to one of his tracks, one of his most recent posts on SoundCloud. You can find him at Forrest James on SoundCloud. And this track is called Mockingbird. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.